the most admirable chasers you could possibly wish to see.
Hello and welcome to the Racehour, sponsored by Gambling.com and our friends at Betfred. Now we're running into the Christmas season, have the Christmas jumper on. Diarmuid, how are you going? You've got the Kerry the top on, you're getting the Kingdom out. How was the weekend? You had a bit of a problem, had you? You were struggling to watch the racing anyway.
I did, so I actually enjoyed a few bets on Friday. Good day. Saturday then was obviously Broken Halo, but I didn't see a single race from Saturday through to Monday. Basically, we could have lost our power here on Friday night and got it back Sunday night. So it was a dead weekend. So I've been frantically watching back the replays here anyway, Cass. So not too bad.
Fair play. And by the look of it, you haven't even had a shower since then. So fair play. Yeah, no, you're dedicated to the cause.
You haven't left the shop and I haven't had a shower. Yeah, it's all good.
Tony, how was your look at the weekend? It was decent racing, to be fair.
Yeah, lost at Navan on Saturday, kind of given out. Personally looked at Oscar's brother in the big handicap order. I was on with the bloody rate price too. Got it back then at Cork on Sunday, backed a couple of small winners. The Bromhead's maiden horde winner, a small big bid on Cromwell's mare when she drifted. And then a miracle of miracles, he actually won a few quid on the NFL Sunday night, which, Jesus, like to getting a few quid out of that now is a kind of a great way to top off the week. It's the most impossible sport of all time. So yeah, happy enough with how things are going.
That only by night Cromwell's mare, she was something else, wasn't she?
One of the best visual performances, I'd say, of the season so far. It looked like she joined in, kind of 3 out, and he kind of got squeezed out going to the fourth last. Just kind of so quickly back on the bridle. I don't know what she beat, but I think the time comparisons with Energumene are quite good. She kind of left out a fence down the back. Her jumping again was excellent. The only thing I'd have with her, she rattled off a quick 3-timer there last season around this time. Then the top of the Lingfinch didn't seem to be the same mare when they came back. So I just wonder, is she one that holds her form through the whole season? But I think they're talking about Taurus for the next day for the 2.5 there in the middle of January.
Yeah, I thought she was very good. And Diarmuid, we're hopping around a bit because it kind of relates to your anti-post bet on Nara. But with that race, did you think it was Nara's jumping let her down, or were you just blown away by only by night as well?
Both. So I think Nara, just from the first fence, was just brutal over fences. As Tony said a few weeks ago, Henry the Bromhead horses that don't jump fences well are kind of worth forgetting, really. She's talented out, as in, like, to even rally for second after, how badly she jumped was a decent engine there. But yeah, I believe in her alone now, Cass, after that.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll go into the review section, and as always, we'll only look at the ones we want to look at. And Tony, we're starting with you and the big clash in the Hilly Way. A lot of talk about Paul Townend, Energumene, Banbridge, the whole works. You can rock on.
Yeah, perfectly good return from Energumene. Tougher competition than he's faced in this race in the last while. I was very encouraged by the run of Banbridge. I thought his win at Punchestown last April, whenever it was fraudulent, to be honest. I thought it was real end of season stuff. Captain Guinness over race. Dino Blue maybe didn't really act in the ground, but to be honest, I've revised my opinion off him completely off the back of this. Regardless of whether he was going to beat Energumene or not, he comes out of the race the best horse at the weights, and he was given £10 away, different horse to the one that ran in Navan. Obviously that run was very, very badly needed, and he goes to King George with a live chance. Now, I know the trip is an unknown and he will need to get the ground, but I'd be very encouraged of him winning a proper grade 1 now on nice ground before the end of the year. I think he's won a couple of grade 1s where things have maybe other horses haven't turned up or just not run the race. But I was highly encouraged with this. Look, the Paul Townend stuff, I see AC was putting up about it, and I think he's onto something myself. You know what Paul Townend is like? It's a bit like, as I say to the youngsters in school, if you think William Shakespeare's writing a bit sexy, he probably is. And if you think Paul Townend is riding on the edge in a race, he probably is too. Like, I think he's the master of the grey areas. Like, something that could be potentially, the dark arts into the kind of cynical stuff. He's deadly at it. Like, and you couldn't just nail down what exactly he's done, but just over the years, I would kind of find them to be a bit like that. Like, you can see barefaced examples, and Ruby had a right go at Davy Russell. I was just looking back at it there, the 2023 Irish Gold Cup at Leopardstown. He was riding Fury Road. Oh, geez, sure, he let him run down the last completely, went markedly to the left and came right across galloping the shops. And that was fairly barefaced now. But Townend, I think, is better at the subtle stuff. And I think, to be honest, he's kind of brought it out of Kennedy as well, by the way. That's something I've noticed. Kennedy's had more of it now in the last few years. Now, we're not going to get to see that through the winter. And I think, to be honest, Elliott was driving Kennedy on to be like this. Couple of interviews, Elliott kind of said, well, Jack needs to be riding a bit tighter and needs to be a bit more aggressive and things like that. There's a great edge to the two of them. It kind of, some of the battles they've had, and you can see Jack Kennedy, who, again, to me, would be kind of quite an emotionless kind of chap. Again, a good trade probably in a jockey, but geez, when he gets one over Townend, he celebrates it a bit, I find, anyway. We're going to miss that this winter. But look at it. I don't see anything necessarily wrong with it. I think in all sports, the dark arts do come into it, but obviously when it gets into kind of dangerous territory, that's when the regulators need to step in. But yeah, it's just something to watch with Paul Townend. And of course, Willie Mullins obviously loves this because you get more winners off the back of it. So maybe I'm too cynical looking at this, but I would tend to think that Giro should have point there.
No, I think you're 100% right. 100% right. Now, what about Energamine and the right jumping? Do you think that was down to Townend, or would you be worried about that going forward? You know, when he's going to, now he might go to Ascot or whatever, but if he was going to Leopardstown or going to Cheltenham, it was definitely more exaggerated than the jumping right previously.
Yeah, do you know what? He's the kind of horse, when he's out of your mind, you forget about him a little bit. I'd have to have a look back. I don't think he has only really run at Leopardstown once, hasn't he? He ran in the DRF, the kind of Irish Arkle way back. They seem to have stayed away from that. Just doesn't suit him maybe with how the races come up. And I'd say Ascot is much more likely.
But he jumped badly right that day, didn't he? Leopardstown that day? He jumped badly right today.
But well done, I just can't recall, yeah.
Yeah, not as bad as he did on Sunday, though. That was real. And while you were talking about it, I wanted to look up. I don't think it's just Townend and just Jack Kennedy. I mean, do you remember Rachel does it as well, or was doing it? Do you remember the race at Leopardstown on the 26th last year? The folks Tiara jumped across and nearly bust Pat Tarou and Keith Donoghue through the race. And she was completely in the wrong.
She was very lucky not getting bothered for that. Yeah.
I thought the book should have been thrown at her there now for that, yeah. And now Townend, I don't know, Tony, what I see Icy giving out as well, and I was looking at the race, and maybe I'm not as good a race reader as the great Icy, but what was he doing wrong now with the horse? Like, it wasn't like he was tugging at the reins to go right or anything. Like, what did he do wrong in your mind?
No. I'm not necessarily saying that he's tried to put your man on the floor or anything like that. That would be ridiculous. Like, but geez, he could maybe correct him a little bit more. And I'm sure he's getting the feel that he's going to correct. It's just the slightest of distractions is enough to put the horse. And in fairness to Deegan, he's left plenty of room. Like, he's not riding tight to an Energamine. But
yes,
I just
and he nearly destroyed your man on Flame Bear that time. Flame Bear,
the two of them were at that, Jack Doyle and I think Paul Keenan was on Braun. Like, again, that was bare-faced stuff now. And again, he probably should have gotten a little bit of bother for that.
It's something to watch for sure.
I think so, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And Tony, you had another touch me not down memory lane running at Sandown. Caught your eye as well.
Yeah, interesting one there. So obviously the HRA have made a few changes and things like that to the programme. They've gotten rid of the 2 mile race on the 26th at Leopardstown. Again, you can see the logic to that. Kind of, you get an average of 4 or 5 runners in it most years, and some very ordinary runnings of it really in recent times. But I'd say the one unintended consequence that they've had is that they weren't expecting the potential horses that would run there to start going to England. I doubt that was in their list of plans. They were hoping maybe they might redirect to some Irish races. I know neither of these have been able to win on Saturday or Northern to particularly win. I do think Touch Me Not, like the horrendous mistake how he stood up and probably did run quite well. He's actually done that twice now. He's recovered from things going wrong in races to correct his jumping very quickly. So I would kind of give him a bit of a pass for the weekend. But like, it wouldn't be Gordon Elliott's way to be sending horses for English Grade 1 before Christmas. I'd look back there. I think I went back to 2008. 14 runners in English Grade 1s before Christmas. Higginstown aren't particularly fans of running horse in English Grade 1s outside of Cheltenham and Aintree too. So that's something that maybe they need to think about. Not an awful lot of opportunities for Grade 1 novice chasers in Ireland. I think it's just the Irish Arkle and the equivalent race of Punchestown, whereas the 2.5 mile division are very well catered for. You have the Drinmore, you have the Faheen at Limerick at Christmas, you have the Moriarty or Flowgas or whatever it is at Leopardstown, DRF, then you have the Gold Cup at Easter time. So they seem to be very well looked after, but the old 2 milers now, I just wouldn't be a fan of them. I'd like running in Sandown. I'd like to see them running somewhere around Ireland, to be honest. And Mullins is kind of cribbing a bit as well that he was mentioning Ballybourne could travel to England. I don't know if he's thinking of Kempton for him. That's the race on the 27th. But he's kind of given out that the upgraded race at Naas in early January is a bit too close to the DRF for his liking.
Yeah, I was just about to make that point. The unintended consequence of them, like they made the case to the Grade 1 for novices. I think the Faheen is 2-3 at Limerick. So the Arkle horse are never going to run in that in desperate ground at Limerick. That's not a runner at all. And then if they go to Naas, like they're talking about going with in the pocket, I think they're talking about going to Naas, then it's too close to the DRF. So I'd rather, I know it's not that competitive. Personally, I'd rather see those horses like you in Ireland. You see the good horses twice rather than once, the way they're after doing it now, which is the problem. The running order says we'll stick with myself for the horse on the weekend. And I was really, really impressed with the horse of Henry de Bromhead, Skylord. I thought it was a good maiden hurdle. Like, you had a thing of Willie's coming over from France, well backed. He finished second, and Skylord beat him all ends up. And what I loved about him was his jumping was electric. He accelerated into every hurdle, brilliant jumping technique, straight as gun barrel, over and running again. Especially the way he went down to the last two. Like, he was absolutely electric over them, ran really well through the line, looked all ends up a 2 miler to me. Icard de Breland's hurdle is a good horse as well. I'd say that was a good little maiden hurdle for Cork. I can't understand these anti-post betting markets, because I went to see, I said maybe he'll be 40-1 or 50-1 for the Supreme. Not even in the betting. I mean, if he was trained by Willie Mullins, he absolutely would get a quote. Henry de Bromhead won the Supreme last year. The fact he showed up well in bumpers, as we know from Henry, is a major positive. I was really, really impressed with Skylord, and I think when he goes, if he ran in the Grade 1 or he goes in a graded race, I'd be very interested in him and could see him showing up in a Supreme. So he was the one that I wanted to talk about. His dam actually was Banjack's Girl. Remember her? She used to run for Nigel Twisted Davis.
Yeah.
I think she went over.
Yeah, she's very good, Gareth. Yeah, very good horse.
Good jumping pedigree, but looks all over 2 miler to me. The only thing is a bit of a head carriage, little bit of a cock in his jaw. Didn't seem to stop him running to the line now, but yeah, he could be, as I was saying to you, he could be your eye catcher of the week and pig of the week and everything you want all in one, this fella, like, and a notebook horse and an anti-buck bet, and he could be Anton. I don't know what way he's going to end up. Dermo, back over to you then to talk through the week's race. And so Banbridge, in the context of your bet for the King George, you must have been very, very happy with that, considering he was given weight to an Ergamine.
Yeah, and his jumping as well, Cass, was actually very good, I thought, as well, because at Kempton last year was the day where I kind of realised how good he was, the day he beat Pictory in his reappearance. Pictory's no slouch as well, particularly at that level around that track too, and Pictory jumped him into the floor that day, and he actually picked him up despite not jumping as well as he can, and I thought that day he really showed himself to be quite a decent stayer, potentially. So hopefully the whole thing should kind of tick along, but obviously Spillane Tower running would be a massive threat there. But the big one, Cass, that I was really excited about was on Friday at Sandown, and I thought this was the best performance by any novice chaser this season by Handstands. I thought it was just an absolutely outstanding performance. Ben Pauling now has 2 of them, obviously, because he's your guy.
I was about to say, Dermot, not even the best in the yard. Never mind this season.
But I thought there's a few reasons why I absolutely love this. Like, first of all, his first run at Wincanton, he was taken off his feet over 2-4, kind of went way too fast for him. Here now, at first 2, you could see he was a little bit reticent over the first 2 fences, but Ben Jones, basically, who's brilliant as well, like, he's a real find of a jockey now as well, but he basically just kind of wouldn't allow it to happen, so he just kind of, he bowled him on, he pinged every fence beautifully. He got the 4 out, and Ben Jones basically pressed the switch. In behind him then was Sean Bowen on Resplendent Grey and Harry Skelton on Welcome to Cartrees. And what I really loved was they were pretty much, they were pausing up. They were going to go he just pressed go. He left him for dead. 2 out, he kind of wandered around the place. Didn't quite get there, but literally flew it. Then was straight as a die over the last, hands and heels upwards. I thought the jumping was brilliant. He was short when he needed to be short. He was intelligent enough to kind of find his feet. And particularly, he was big and brave at times as well. I love that when a horse falls first time and then is big and brave afterwards. They're kind of smart animals. You know, he learned all his mistakes. Clearly, there's a lot of upside now, especially up to 3 miles. He'd never ran over 3 miles before. He's a real big stayer, jumps beautifully. Ben Pauling has 2 absolute crackers. I think your guy, Cass, will stay around 2-4 for a while. He didn't look slow to me anyway at Newbury. And I think this lad now will be the stayer. One thing is, he's definitely not a Cheltenham horse. If you watch back to Ballymore last year, I watched it back today, 3 out, he's kind of travelling up there, and then he doesn't handle the dip at all. He just doesn't handle it. Like, he literally got... it's out by light. I'd love him to run in the Cato Star at Christmas. I really love him there, but it's probably too soon now. But he has loads of options. But he be one now, I think, that you could see popping up at Aintree. He could get there at a decent price over 3 miles, and he could catch a lot of them out. He just jumps really well. He's got a cracking jockey, cracking trainer, and he's really talented. Ben Pauling loves him. And now that they've cracked the kind of right trip for him now, I love him. Absolutely love him, Cass.
We have a ton, Dermo, who would be rated higher at the end of the season over Fences, Handstands, the Jukebox Man.
Yes.
I'd make myself about 1 to 6 to win this bet now. But anyway, I'll take the even money. Thank you, Dermo. I appreciate that. 100,
I want you to
100 on
revenue
that.
me anyway.
Handstands versus...
Yeah. I want to
He's
hamper next Christmas.
He's always at this now. If you're sitting in the pub watching the racing with him, he's always at this old nonsense way. I think he's looking at Betfred and running there ahead of you. Do you fancy this or do you fancy that? So that horse, that bloody Jukebox Man, will probably get an inflated rating because he's a grade 1 horse. Do you want to give German a bit of a head start there if you're that confident? Come on now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know to be a price. I'll give you another bet at a price if you want. Yeah, we'll have 2 bets. You could have 2 to 1 and another 100 if you want. But talking about the bets of the pubs. When we were in Newbury, I came up with this game. Now, people probably play this all the time, right? But you say, Tony, you name a celebrity, and you'll say somebody. You'll say Princess Diana, right? And then I have to give you overs, unders, and an age, and I'll say, well, if she was alive now, she'd be 61.5, and then you have to have a bet up to 20 quid. And we were doing this for about 2 hours, and I swear to God, it was the best time I ever had my whole night. Next time we're in the pub in Monaghan, Tony, we're doing that in between races. We do this on Stephen's Day and Monaghan or the 27th, whenever we'll have a pint. So that can kill the time in between. Right. So notebook horses. Or no, actually, I should touch on John Bond now and Ladisode at the big race.
He was brilliant. John Bond was, I thought.
John Bond, yeah. Dermo, take that one.
He was brilliant, though, wasn't he? Because it's hard to crib that now. He was just very good. Like a bad race, but he was very good, I thought.
Yes, and they weren't even trying to go from the front with him. He was nearly too good, and he was kind of. He came alive in Nico's hands and just looked the best horse. All ends up. Ladisode, Tony, 6 to 1 for an Arkle is a disgraceful price, I would say, when you haven't even seen the Irish horses. What did you think of him?
Oh, look, I only watched it the once. I backed Gordon Elliott. Sorry, I backed Touch Me Not Gordon Elliott's horse. I thought Touch Me Not would have given him a bit more of a race now if he hadn't applied that fence. Didn't pull away from as much as I thought. But look, is he another third time lucky? Like, one of these is going to rack up a sequence and then be found out against the Irish horses. Your suspicion probably is that will be the way. He was beating the county hurdle there last season. But outside of Ballybourne, like what are the other Irish 2-milers at the moment that really stand out? Like,
Madgeborough.
Yeah, that's fair actually. Yeah.
Like, if in the pocket and Ladisode went out the next time in a match, in the pocket it'll be 1 to 2. So how you can be backing your man at 6 to 1 for an Arkle it's absolute bonker stuff. And there's plenty more, Tony, because anything that comes out kind of has to go with that route. So any of the novice hurdlers that go well without the old turners, the Arkle is going to be very strong. Illas Antique, I wouldn't say is a real stayer. What do you think of him, Tony? Actually,
oh yeah. Look, that was an interesting race. You can put me down as doubtful on him now for the moment. He is on his first start for Mullins each of the 3 years now. But when he went to the bumpers and the good novice hurdles, he tended to get found out and beaten at short prices. So I kind of want to see it with him over fences. Also, he kind of ran to the pound with Waterford Whispers to the hurdles marks. It wasn't that he's after finding a massive chunk of improvement. Now, there was another interesting thing about this race. I think it does tell you a little bit about trainers and their MO and who maybe knows what they're doing and who maybe needs to do what other people are doing. But like Gavin Cromwell has 2 horses in this race. What's the name of your horse, Chairman? Back to Normal, is it?
Back to
And
Normal.
The other lad is now is the hour. Yeah, 2 kind of classy-ish novice hurdlers now. Now the hour won a great race over in Haydock and Back to Normal. Well, he wasn't at that level, but even well in Punchestown and plenty of upside. Like, those are, they're going to be better over further. They're aiming at handicap, shall we say. And with what they did on Saturday, they won't be getting too lofty marks. So Back to Normal ran wellish to by the first day, and maybe he's going to pay for that a little bit. But you have American Money for the Harties and Park the Giant for Philip Fenton. Now, to me, they were too forward in the race, shall we say. You know what I'm getting at. Like, those horses want to win races down the line. They want to be trying to get in £10 lower than what their ability is. They're getting hard races against these horses, Mullins and Elliott, and not get kind of built up into handicaps and things like that. I just thought, like, they aren't as good as these horses, but you're riding them as if they are. But Cromwell's horse might well be as good as some of the lads that are up the front. But that might be an interesting one to do, to spread betting on their handicap marks at the end of the year. But I know who my money would be on. I've been an awful lot higher coming out of that beginner's chase. So yeah, some of the interesting ones were down the field to my mind. I actually didn't love the head charge on Waterford Whispers either. Actually, I thought he was a bit wonky. I'd like to see him again.
He'll be marked up as well, Tony, because people might think now that he wasn't off. I thought he was trying hard enough now, and he had a funny old head carriage. I thought
well backed as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Money for
7-8 to 1 into 2 to 1. Also, the Martin Pike last year in its standing race. Like, I know the seasons it produces Grade 1 winners. I don't know, but last season, like maybe Elliott's horse that won it will improve for going up and tip, and he looked good against Slade Steel. And Stephen, you're saying Slade Steel might be yet wonderful. Like, to me, Answer the Cape was found out in Punchestown when he went in against Back to Normal. Didn't particularly love his chase debut. Key de Bourbon, I'd be surprised if he's in Mullins' top 10 or 15 novice chasers this year. So I think maybe the Martin Pipe was staying enough the reputation of maybe previous runnings where there were Grade 1 horses in it. So I'd be a little bit down on the form of the front few in that race anyway.
Yeah. And for the notebook, Tony, or had you for the notebook this week?
Yeah, I had same race or same card. Sorry, it might be quite obvious, but 3 maiden hurdles to start the meeting. I like betting in maiden hurdles in general, but when Mullins turns up with these ex-French yokes, they just don't have a clue what to do with them. I'm not a massive fan of betting in those races, but to me, one of the more impressive maiden hurdle winners of the season so far was Colin Murphy's horse, Curramayagot, coming out of a pint to pint. Didn't seem to be fancied at all. 16 to 1 McManus first time out, and Frank Berry saying afterwards they didn't put him in any of the early closing races. Well, I said they might think of putting him in him after this. They kind of sat wide and said they wanted to give him a good look at his hurdles. And thankfully he wasn't taken after the family, because he's a full brother there, Codda Harla, and I'd say he has to be one of the worst jumpers of hurdles and fences that they've had in recent days. He's terrible.
One of Dermot's friends.
No.
Yeah, well, he's been back a couple of times now, and you'd be very brave now with his jumping.
Yeah. No,
Well, anyway,
he kind of reminded me. It was all about any second now with him, wasn't it? Unexpected winner.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
But I'd say he's a stayer. Like, you'd imagine he'll be better again up and trip.
But he travelled so well into it, and then he's come to the between the last two with this horse of Mouse Morris's Auto Portrait, who's been really strong in the betting. What was he like? 10s into 7 to 2 or 3s. So they pulled clear the rest, and then he's pulled clear Mouse Morris's horse in the finish with only kind of hand riding and things like that. So yeah, he looked like a good horse.
Give us your Ulster Irish pronunciation, Tony, there again. What did you call it?
Exactly. No, I would you believe I was going to bloody say this to you, lads? I was listening to Jerry Han going up a Gurriv Mayagot, and I was saying, Jesus, I don't fancy that. That wouldn't be the way we'd say it. So it's Rowood Riawa saying it. So what do ye lads say?
Well, we've 3 different Irish here now, so we'll all have a go, right? So we have Munster Irish, Ring Irish. We've a great that here. Gurriv Mahagot is what I would say anyway. Gurriv Mahagot.
Same, yeah.
Same, Dermo. Yeah,
I'd say Goromaya, because it's the way we'd be having, but we'd have done all that.
Mother
Of
God.
course.
Yes, I'm married to a Monaghan woman. That's why I see so much of Tony. But yeah, the Irish, and my two little ones are in a grade school, and the Irish, my wife would be reading the two of them. I'm like, listen, you just need to keep out of this now and leave this to the Munster people, and we'll just take from there, because you're going to confuse the children. It's like a different language altogether up there. But you probably have done about as good as any of the UK podcasts that they were talking about that horse today. Dermo, your eye catcher.
On Sunday in the handicap hurdle, low grade enough stuff now. And I thought Mercury Mission won't be far from winning the race now. Ridden by, he's a very good young jockey actually as well. He's a 7-pound claimer, Tiernan Power Roach. He's very good. He's riding for Rotwell now, and this horse joined from Michael O'Connor's yard. It took a while to get going. When I noted him last time, he fell when he was just about to kind of start getting into it over 2 miles. He went up to 2.4 here. He pulled the head off himself early. They were clearly kind of trying to get confidence into him. He held on to him. He flew home, third of 20s. He's still off the same mark of 102. This was a serious performance. They seem to only be kind of figuring out since that yard switch. So as I always say, kind of be careful of the fast finishers. There has to be a reason with it. There is here. It's his third run for them. So he's definitely a winner soon. He was Mercury Mission on Sunday, Cass.
Okay, I actually have one this week, and it was in that Skylord race. Horse of Ed Cawley's called Rocky Rock On in the Cawley colours. He's always a good man to win a novice handicap hurdle. Now, this horse was trying to be strangled out the back, absolute non-jigger, and was showing a bit of ability that they couldn't hold him, and he teared the head off himself a bit. But you even travel like a half-decent horse. He might be completely useless. He was beaten 50 lengths, but he was really catching my eye down the back of the field. And then in those colours, you'd be watching him. So once they get another couple of runs in for him, and then a novice handicap hurdle, maybe in the springtime, Rocky Rock On, you can kind of forget about him until then. Right, so we're going to move on. Tony, had you other eye catchers? Sorry, you kind of indicated there might be one or two, or will I crack on?
No, but
that's fine.
Sorry now. If that Mercury Mission wins the race, I'd give up to give. He is an absolute toe rag of a thing now. Sorry, Jim, but he is rotten.
Fine, I hated him, but I'm sorry. I just think Rotwell has whatever he does with him, he's an ability of winning these kind of low grade enough stuff. That's the only reason he seems to be able to get these low grade rot bags and get a win out of them. That's literally all it is.
Do you reckon all these English lads are watching these podcasts now, and the three of us are talking about horses that might win an 80 or a 0 to 95 handicap hurdle in the summer tomorrow? All our eye catchers have been this so far. So we have heard of those horses in England, don't worry.
Yeah, they've actually changed the whole grading of these races now for from January 1st anyway. They're none of these complicated numbers. It's all round figures for lads, just to simplify it for them. There's not the hundreds now.
Yeah. Up a grade to the 0 to 100s for my fella anyway, and a novice handicap. Right, so our talking point this week, and we hope we don't bore you because everybody's talking about this, but it's the Gambling Commission's figures on turnover on horse racing. Now, we're hearing a lot of this 3 billion nonsense, and as Tony pointed out on our WhatsApp the other day, that's inflation adjusted, but it's still frightening. I mean, you're 10 billion down to just under 8.5 billion is the betting figures on horse racing, online gambling, 1.6 billion decrease. Very, very worrying stuff. Dermo, you wanted to make a few points about the figures and maybe why they don't tell the whole story.
Yeah, so kind of, first of all, obviously, look, all of us on this podcast are kind of anti all these restrictions. We're pro gambling, and we're kind of very much, we want people to be able to bet responsibly within their means, to do it easily. But God, these figures now are a great out for the BHA and everyone else concerned here now as well, because they can blame the last 2 years now completely on checks and not the fact that the sport itself is kind of losing appeal. The product's not where it once was. Like, you can blame everything on checks, but football's only down about 7%. Slot games and all them are kind of level. Now, I know casino is a different animal, but still, customers betting on these mediums are still going through all the same checks. But for some reason, horse racing now, they're all jumping on this bandwagon we all know the checks are a major part of it, but surely some of it has to come back to the fact that the BHA haven't looked at the schedule at all. Horse racing is still in the same mire as it was about 4 years ago. The fact that their big initiative now, the big marketing initiative, is a Premier Racing format that they've just made 170 meetings, Premier Racing meetings a year. That's basically like how Brazil painted all their slums a bright pink just to make it look a bit better. As in, like that, it's still the same 4-runner races at the weekend, but just now called a Premier meeting. Like, as in, they have done absolutely nothing here. So again, like, checks are obviously a big issue, and we all know this, but the Gambling Commission are part of the story here, not the full story. And also, Cass, this 3 billion claim as well, they've marked it up based on inflation, the same level of inflation. It was rapid inflation, as in it wasn't normal inflation. And 3 billion to me really doesn't wash. Like 1.87 billion, that's bad enough. Like, it doesn't need to be 3 billion. It's really worrying. But I just really do think, Cass, that this has just been one big serious out now. The whole sport can shout and scream about kind of all these checks when there's much more serious issues. The sport needs to kind of look at itself properly. And the answer, again, in the article I read, was all about Premier Racing. That's 170 Premier meetings. That's like Super Sundays on Sky Sports. They're not all Super and they're not all Premier. That can't be the answer. But the main thing as well is all these brands as well, Cass. And look, I work in gambling. Obviously, we won't name names, but it's a bit rich now with the amount of customers that were kind of cut off before all of this for them all now, that, they're kind of blaming checks for all this as well. That is a bit rich, isn't it?
On the bookmaker side and blaming checks, yes, I think that's a huge part of the whole story. So everyone kind of has the Gambling Commission to blame now and affordability checks, but I think bookmakers have been making a bed for themselves for a while now, and punters have been leaving in droves as a result. I think a big aspect of it was all the mergers. So obviously Ladbrokes and Coral joined with Entain, and Flutter is a behemoth. What happened then was all the power is concentrated in a small number of hands. It was about maximizing profits. Restrictions got heavier and heavier and heavier, as we know. Like, we're all punting quite a long time now. Restrictions only really started coming in, I would say, 13, 14 years ago. Tony, you might remember it better than me, but the restrictions got heavier and heavier 10 years ago, all concentrated in the same hands. I remember when Paddy Power and Betfair were merging, this is in 2015, all the talk was they would maintain both trading divisions. There'd be Chinese walls between them. That was never, ever enforced. Like, it's a complete joke. Obviously, Paddy Power and Betfair have the same book. They were supposed to have a different book for competition standards. So the bookmakers' concentration of power led to them cornering the market. The restrictions got heavier and heavier as it all became about profit maximization rather than product maximization. And I think the bookies were a huge contributor to the decline in the sport. And now you have the Gambling Commission saying they're not enforcing these affordability checks, but they are. Like, they're putting in fines for it, and it is there on their website. So it's all one horrible mess we're in. But I certainly don't think the Gambling Commission are solely to blame. I think bookmakers have an awful lot to answer for as well. A point you made there, Dermo, was, I don't know, were they the Gambling Commission's figures about other sports? Because people are just saying it's all down to affordability checks, but racing's figures don't tally up when you check with the big bookmakers. UK and Ireland Q3 revenue for Flutter, and this is UK and Ireland now, and on sports is up 9%. So
we had record revenues in Gambling.com. Q3 was our biggest quarter we ever had, ever.
Yes, yeah. So sportsbook revenue was up 9% in Flutter. It was up 2% in Entain. So horse racing is really lagging behind all the other sports.
How can they say? Because even greyhound racing is down less than horse racing is. And if you're betting on greyhound racing, you are doing the same checks as I'm doing, going through. So how you can turn around and say, oh, it's
exactly
all that fault is just nonsense. But the other thing as well, though, Cass, is that the Gambling Commission has got this badly wrong, and the Irish Gambling Commission as well. I know I mentioned this before, but black casinos and black betting sites are rising quickly. I saw one the last day being advertised on Twitter from a a guy I know, I sent him a really dirty DM afterwards. It's filthy stuff. And what's happening now, and this will happen in Ireland, I guarantee it. You've too heavy-handed approach. This leads to these black, really, really dodgy casinos and betting sites. And I just want to warn all of our listeners at home and viewers now as well, you poor devils, have a look at us. But it's just not a good thing. Never bet with a black casino or a black betting site. No matter how much you hate all these checks, you just might not get paid. Like it's hard enough making money in racing without adding that problem in as well. It's a real issue. So the way that you can spot these, it's really, really simple. Scroll down to the bottom of a website. All betting sites, all casinos. If betting in the UK, it'll have the Gambling Commission tag there. If it doesn't, don't bet there. Same thing in Ireland. MGA, that means the Maltese Gambling Authority. That's the license there. Or look for Curaçao, that's the other license. Ireland will have a license soon, but they're both licenses there. So one or the other for Ireland, or just the Gambling Commission there. Keep yourself safe. Honestly, it's just not worth it. But kind of, yeah, Cass, like it's a myriad of issues, really, really big problems there. But horse racing, look lads, we're 3 married men. We know what losing an argument is like. We lose them all the time. But horse racing is not putting itself in a lovely position, because all horse racing is doing is simply trying to make itself out to be this big victim, and that, all the problems are there. They need to realise that the sport, as well as checks, there's much more issues. We have an audience that are switching off. That's part of this. We have literally massive problems. Premier Racing, whoever came up with it, need to have a look at it again. 170 meetings, that's not Premier. So we can definitely blame checks all we want, but it's far, far too easy now for the BHA, who are basically nobody's doing their job right here, Cass.
Yeah, I agree. And I know one thing it's racing is underperforming relative to other sports, no matter what way we look at it. So the product had to be looked at, but we are a gambling linked industry and have to lobby as such, and lobby that racing is a different product from casino. I mean, that would seem obvious, but I'd be so worried about the future. Like, the last few race meetings I've been to, because I've got small kids and I'm busy, tends to be bigger meetings. So was that Newbury, was that Cheltenham, Longchamp, Leopardstown, Punchestown Festival, these kind of days. And to be honest with you, I think that the level of younger people, early 20s, going, just to my mind, certainly in Newbury the other day, it was all 30 plus, groups of guys and girls and groups of older people, and it made for a fabulous atmosphere. But I don't see young people showing any interest in the game. I don't see it in the pubs in Dungarvan. This is anecdotal. I don't see it in the shop here, and I'm talking to hundreds of people every day. And I talk racing to tens of people every day. None of those people are under 25 anymore. Tony, you might see it with the school kids as well. Like, and I'm not saying there's any interest in gambling, and there absolutely shouldn't be. But is there any interest in racing? You go racing a lot more. We're kind of going off topic, but it's the same topic in a way. Like, I think the sport is in trouble.
A couple of things. In school, no, it's an all-girls school I teach. We do have a apprentice flat jockey in school. And good luck to her, Emily. But yeah, I'd say she's about the only one, I would say. I'm amazed to hear you talking with people in the authorities. I think the racing authorities are saying that here and that should be absolutely thrilled, because most of the lads you see here in the 50s, 60s, 70s going racing. And on that topic, I saw Leopardstown say during the week that the DRF is now going to be an all-ticket event. Like, who wants an all-ticket event? I know there will be younger people at that. I actually would kind of if I go to a lot of probably more ordinary meetings, maybe you seem to have gone to big fixtures. I would find if the younger people are going to be there rather than at the ordinary meetings. And the DRF would have kind of a youngish target market. But like, if you're discriminating against your absolute core audience, and your absolute core audience racing is our lads with cash.
Yeah.
I hope there's going to be something there to facilitate them at the DRF. I actually thought that was such a mad idea. There wasn't.
It'd be like these cafes, these cafes that are going card only. Like they're mainly, it's fair enough if you're a chain and you're worried about staff robbing from the till, but like if you have a cafe in second Belmullet and you went cash only and all your customers are 65-year-old blue rinses and the outlets, like it's just crazy. And that's the racing audience, the core audience, and maybe they don't want them in that weekend, Tony. I don't know. I just think that is bonkers.
No, but I was on that topic. Someone was telling me they went for a pint in Dublin. Someone in Dublin there over the weekend. I won't name the pub, and your man said to them, "Well, the pint is $4.50 if you pay in cash, or $5.50 if you pay on your card." He says, "So yeah, you can figure it out for yourself." But on the subject, I hope you don't be doing things like that, Stephen.
I'd never do
anyway.
I try and get the same price for cash. That's the real touch.
Exactly. On the subject of racing, look, I would broadly be of the opinion like there's far too much racing. I think Patrick Veitch has been on about that, and I know people say actually he's only worried about himself and stuff like that. Yeah, maybe he is, but he also was a very good point. Like, for the ordinary follower of racing who's just like a normal person who's not a professional, it's very hard to follow so much of it, next to impossible now. And I'm saying that as someone who is paid to follow it as well. So even I find it overwhelming at times. Like some of the stuff they've done in the last while, this stuff of them having the all-weather racing on a Sunday evening last January, February, March, I know that was a failure, but who he would think that is a remotely good idea? Like, no one has any interest in that as far as I'm concerned. This stuff of the racing starting at 10:30 in the morning on Saturdays to avoid the other race, and again, look, a fiasco. No time for that. The racing on a Saturday, summer Saturdays, watching the racing stations is like it's a horrible watch. Any race that's slightly delayed, there's no bit of a prelims, chatting to connections, watching the horse go around the paddock, no bit of replays afterwards. Totally on it. I just go out of the house on the Saturday, to be honest. I'd watch it back later. It's awful stuff. Now, again, I hope I have this right, but some of this might just resolve itself in a way that racing won't really like. As far as I know, the media rights in Ireland is changing, and it may be from January 1st, in that tracks are now going to be paid kind of pro rata rates based on the betting turnover on their racing, shall we say. So for some tracks, obviously that's wonderful. Like the track who would probably punch well above its weight in that regard would be Dundalk on a Friday night. Like that does very well by all accounts due to where it's situated in the week. But somewhere like Clonmel on a Thursday, or some of these other tracks that are Limerick, or a lot of ordinary racing, kind of midweek and stuff like that. Like someone who's very well connected, I would really know what he was talking about. Met him McCall with this year. I said, like, could easily be 3 or 4 of these tracks just going to have to close. And I know that hasn't been. I don't know if that really been considered at all. So they were on these tracks were all on a kind of a guaranteed rate in the initial part of this deal, but may now be.
And you were talking the 30 grand, give or take, just for hosting a meeting. Like Thurlison's business model would have been hosting the meeting, taking that money, and not really catering for crowds as such.
It's more than 40 grand.
40.
I'll go again. Yeah. And for those tracks that maybe have good business models in terms of getting people through the door, like a Ballinrobe or Roscommon, I know their times of meetings maybe aren't wonderful, but they are summertime and they get locally supported. I'm talking about these meetings where there's nobody going to, and in reality there doesn't seem to be anyone betting on them either. So, maybe they're going to get the racing tinned out. What would you call it? Natural attrition? Is that the word for that? I don't know.
Natural selection, isn't it?
Natural selection. I think we started trying to talk about restrictions, trying to talk about the Gambling Commission, but as usual, racing, it's kind of going around to the product is the problem.
But that is the point, though, Cass. That's the real concerning thing here about the BHA guy that was talking. I heard the guys there is that they just keep talking about checks when they're not talking about the fact that they need, unfortunately, tracks to close. They need all this sort of stuff to happen. Less is more, and racing needs to kind of accept that. It just needs to very, very quickly.
Yeah. Okay. So that was our topic of the week. Would love to hear what listeners think about it, or love to hear what you would like us to talk about in other weeks, because we're struggling to come up with stuff, to be honest, between the three of us. It's not easy every week. But anyway, no, genuinely, we would love to hear what you would like us to be talking about. Anti-post betting, looking ahead to the weekend. Dermo, you're happy with your Banbridge bill, I would imagine. Anything you want to add to your long portfolio?
No. My long portfolio can stay long and depressing like my golf game.
And Tony, you got an absolute touch when we learned that man counts as a stage back, so he came off the old sheet of justice there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's as close as I've come, and I'm going to keep my powder dry out of a little bit. One race I am kind of keeping in mind a little bit is the 3 mile race at Leopardstown, the novice chase that's on the first day of the meeting.
100%.
I see a pair of passes. Is the favourite for that? I'd be a bit iffy at him at 3 now. And what at the second
Tony,
is the horse that won the Drinmore, yeah.
And I was going today. We're not in the review, but Dancing City was quite good. I know he got tired at the back of the last, and they closed on him then, but his jumping was good. He's 7-1 for that race. I have considered putting him up for that race myself, and then said no. I'll let Fugitive run and see how we're going.
It's just, it's just, does he want to run him? I see he was kind of alluding to running horses back a bit quicker and things like that. But obviously, like Mullins is still scarred by running Michael Dagenham first time out in the Drinmore. Like he's still, no, I'm not running them too fast. I'm going to build them up and give them the right time. But yeah, in pair of passes, just 3 miles around Leopardstown, something will have to go out and make a test. And the second horse, Crow Park, when he won the Drinmore, was obviously in fortuitous fashion. Well, the race set up, and he actually bled the time before that. So you find hard to have too strong of a feeling for him. So maybe there's something out the field, but it's just what else is Gordon Elliott going to run is the thing.
Yeah. Was looking at that race myself today. So thanks to our sponsors, Betfred. Thanks to Gambling.com. Thank you to Tony Keenan and Diarmuid Nolan, and we will chat to you all again next week.
Relentless, remorseless, and pounded Cordan Star into submission.